Hi, and welcome back to DBU. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. I want to take a moment to give a shout out to my DBU partner and director, Axel Oliva. He's worked tirelessly to bring this content to you because he believes in what we're doing and the message it sends. So thank you, Axel, for your commitment to DBU. I couldn't have done this without you. In our previous episodes, we discussed how signal moves through a console. Today we're going to backtrack and cover some console functions that we left out. But before I jump in, I have a little story first. A couple of years ago, I recall a situation at work where a former dean got into a skirmish with the faculty about teaching on analog consoles. He figured that since laptops had obsoleted consoles, there was no point in teaching on them anymore. He had asked us to retire a console from the program completely. What we had to do is explain to him that the very software he was spending a fortune on, in this case Pro Tools, had been designed after an analog console to begin with. His logic was faulty. It's a given that a competent engineer will grasp how to use both systems, and well. In audio, our world still starts out as analog, and it probably always will. A good engineer does not have the convenience of ignoring console-based workflows, even in a digital studio. If you intend to make a living working in audio, the console becomes the central nervous system to your studio. It's used to source, process, sum, route, and monitor every signal present. Without it, there is no studio. The first function I'm going to cover we touched on in our last episode, the mic line switch. Mic level signals are by their nature much lower and of a different impedance than their line level counterparts. Mic gain is used to amplify microphones, and line gain is used to manage the gain coming from line level sources, like synths, record and playback devices, and effects units found in your outboard rack. Adding gain is called amplification, and trimming gain is called attenuation. Keep in mind that these stages are not interchangeable, but while some consoles might allow you to adjust this function from one control, the truth is they're staged differently. We covered how to stage these controls in our previous episode, and it's worth revisiting if you're still unclear on this topic. The next button, found near the gain, is the phantom power switch. This circuit sends DC current down the XLR cable to power condenser mics. The voltage travels down pins 2 and 3, and its ground is referenced to pin 1. Without a functional ground, the mic won't work. It's usually around 48 volts, though it can be much lower depending on the microphone. It's a good idea to use this button with caution, especially when attached to vintage ribbon mics, because in certain circumstances it can actually destroy the mic's output transformer. Modern ribbons tend to be safer when exposed to phantom, and some of them actually require it to work. Still, I'd use caution though, especially when the preamp input appears on the patch bay. You see, what can happen is when inserting a patch cable, the voltage being carried on the tip is very likely to ground out against the patch bay frame, thus shorting the voltage to ground. XLRs won't do this. I've actually watched people fry their MP3 players and cell phones before when connecting to a mic pre input. Dynamic mics are usually okay when connected to phantom, so there's little need to worry about them if they accidentally get powered. Another nearby function is the phase button, sometimes shown with a slashed circle. Phase reverses the polarity of the incoming wave. We use this to confirm correlated signals are traveling in phase relative to each other when using multiple mics together, because combining out of phase signals can create a hollow or thin sounding tone. In stereo, it actually shifts the image and creates a dizzying effect. It's destructive to low frequencies and can cause comb filtering in the mids and highs. We'll talk more about phase later, but this is a valuable tool for checking the phase relationship of mics against each other when recording a singular source. The next function is our pad. which sometimes is designated by a minus 20 dB text. This simply reduces the incoming level of a signal by as much as 20 dB. It's helpful for taming down hot mic signals. On some preamps, the pan stage can alter the sound of the preamp. Ideally, this shouldn't happen, but it can, and for this reason, it's a good habit to avoid engaging it unless you really need it. Sometimes I find I'm dancing between needing it and not. It's always better to play it safe and use it than risk distorting your signal. I've had many students clip final projects because they were not paying attention to the preamp levels when recording. And I've had to ding their grade because of it too. Distortion other than for creative purposes is just not okay, at least on a serious recording. This is all I have time for today. We're going to get into even more of this in our next episode, but for now that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Cheers.